This person literally thinks that all ports are created equal. Let's get into it.
So there will be no pre-release Nintendo Switch 2 hardware or software reviews.
Yes, which is not a good thing. That is not a good precedent to set. That, is going to make some people think you don't have confidence in your system. Now, I think the reason why they're doing it isn't because they don't have confidence in it. I just don't think they think that they have to. They're looking at how successful the Switch 1 is. It's like, we don't got to send anything out, and they're just being greedy.
And the professional press will have you believe that this is the worst thing to ever happen to the gaming industry.
No, that is not the worst thing to happen to the gaming industry. The worst thing to happen to the gaming industry is releasing Mario Kart World at $80.
Nintendo has opted out of supplying journalists with Switch 2 hardware and games.
Yes, we already know this. You already said that. It is a very bad thing to do that because it's not good for the consumer. Now they're not going to know if it's really worth it for them to go buy it
ahead of time. And the journalists who are used to having access to these games and to these hardwares pre-release so that they can put up reviews of these games and put up impressions of these games.
Yes, that's a win for everybody. Usually it's a good thing for the consumer. Now, I don't always trust these journalists. I think some of them might be paid for, but you never know.
Before everyone else, think that this is the worst thing ever. But the question is it really?
No, it isn't the worst thing ever. Putting Mario Kart World at $80 is way worse than that. But, like I've said before, I think the reason why they're doing it is because they don't feel like they have to do it, and that's the whole reason. But when we look at a lot of companies that are like, oh, they don't give out review codes for the games, generally the games turn out to be very, very bad. So it could be that might be the reason.
Because the Nintendo Switch 2 is kind of a different beast than past launches.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a different beast or not, which I don't think it is. A launch is a launch, so whether it's different is completely irrelevant.
Where does a pre-release of this system and of these games, does that really affect your perception?
I mean, it should. Now, the people that already pre-order, no, but they're supposed to have units that you can get without having to pre-order them. So it may affect their perception. Now, there's going to be some people that are going to buy it regardless, but we don't know if the system's going to be worth it. We don't know if the games are going to be worth it. Well, here, I'll save you a bunch of time. Mario Kart World is no way going to be worth it. Everyone already knows that one. Anybody that says differently is just living in denial.
These journalists will have you believe that them not being able to give their professional opinion on the hardware and the software before launch and before you're able to buy it will negatively impact your judgment.
It will with a lot of people. Because nowadays, a lot of people do wait for people to actually come out with reviews because of how some of the games we've gotten lately have been so terrible and so overpriced and not worth it. People are starting to be more careful with what they, when it comes to spending money with their wallets.
Now, I gotta ask you this. How many games coming to the Switch 2 day one are actually new games?
That's completely irrelevant. All those ports you're getting of old games, you don't know if they're going to run good or not. You're going off of what those third-party companies are saying. It ain't the first time that they've lied to push out a game. Look at the Switch 1 ports of Batman Arkham Asylum. That's a terrible port. Hogwarts Legacy, terrible port. Mortal Kombat 1, terrible port. I can go on and on.
We have Mario Kart World, which is a new game.
Which definitely needs to be reviewed.
But literally, everything else besides Fast Fusion is literally a game that has been out for other systems and games that have reviews already.
And just because they work well on one system doesn't mean they're going to work well on others. Say you've never been on a PC without saying it.
Mario Kart World is a brand new game. But honestly, ever since IGN gave Double Dash a 7.9, I don't think they really care too much about.
After the review they gave of Dragon Age, the Veilguard, people don't really trust IGN anyways.
So that really doesn't matter there. But as far as the other games,
well, there are other people besides IGN that can give a review. Trust me, you don't need to sink that many hours into Mario Kart World to know if it's going to be worth it or not.
Do we really need reviews ahead of time?
Yes, because what happens if the game is broken? Do you know how many games have come out broken at launch or just terrible ports? Look at Cyberpunk 2077, No Man's Sky. Those games are prime examples. We need reviews of any new game.
For Switch 2 versions of these games, of these third-party games, that some of them have been out for quite a while.
Yes, on other platforms, but it hasn't been the first time a third-party person ported over a different version that wasn't really designed to be on the Switch one, couldn't really handle it, and then they sat there and used footage from another version on a different console.
These games aren't new. Now, if the Switch 2 launched with a whole bunch of new games, never before released games,
You cannot be this serious. Are you really this dumb? I'm not even trying to be mean here, but there is no way that you are this dumb to where you're like, oh, well, the games have been out for so long, it doesn't even matter. You act like the Switch 2 is going to be on par with the other systems where they can handle these games just because they can handle them on the other consoles. That is not how that works. Because if that was the case, go look at the PC versions of many of those games. When they come out at launch, a lot of them do not run very well on the PC because they don't sit there and test them properly.
Yeah, this might be an issue, but the fact is, it's not.
It is an issue. I swear, are you and Harmon Smith related at all?
And even if you go back and read or watch reviews of past games that came to Nintendo systems after the fact, 95% of the review is regurgitated.
Maybe so, but a lot of those ports that you guys got were not good ports. Look at Mortal Kombat 1, Hogwarts Legacy. You guys had many ports that were garbage. They were trash.
In fact, a lot of those reviews, they say, go, if you want to know about this game, we reviewed it last year, so go check that out. But as far as the...
Yeah, do you have any facts to back that up? Because for some reason, I just do not believe you.
Nintendo version, they add some motion controls. It doesn't look as nice, and you can play it everywhere, and that's it.
I mean, the games didn't look as nice on the Switch 1. That's a very key important thing to remember. And some of them were broken. Some of them were buggy, glitchy, did not play correctly. Just look at Mortal Kombat 1.
Things that we already know. And it really doesn't even matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? Of course it matters. Don't you care if your fans are going to get ripped off or not? Don't you care about the people that support Nintendo if they're going to get ripped off?
If these reviews go up after launch, because people will go back and watch reviews of games that they already own.
All right, anybody from the PC community that is watching this, if you are planning on getting a brand new game at launch, if the person you are watching is reviewing a PS5 copy, I would advise you to not go off of that. I would advise you to go check out someone who got a copy for a PC version and go listen to them instead. Do not listen to an imbecile like this.
Just to see if the reviewer is an idiot.
Well, we all know you're one. I swear, you and Harmon Smith must have shared paint chips as a kid.
And if they should take them seriously. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if their review is up before or after. People are still going to watch.
Yes, but it's better to have it up before the launch because all the companies that had their games out at launch would like to sit there and have people buy them. Do you think they want to wait? They usually like to go off of day one sales.
But in terms of the Nintendo Switch 2, this is probably the system that needs pre-release reviews the least.
Yeah, that's BS. It doesn't matter if it's a PS5, if it's a PC, an Xbox, a Switch 2, it don't matter. It could be a mobile game. You need reviews of every console, every platform to make sure it's going to accurately play correctly and if it's worth your money. That is the point of a review, is to let a consumer know if it's worth it for them to get it or not.
Now, I know what you guys, some of you guys are probably saying, what do you mean?
Oh, I promise you, some of us are not saying, what do you mean? Some of us are saying that you're a freaking idiot.
It has to have some kind of hands-on reviews pre-release. Like, we have to know what we're getting.
Yes, you do. Why can't you accept this?
I understand. Like, if only there was an event where thousands of fans, journalists included, all got to play Nintendo Switch hardware and games before release. Oh, wait! That already happened.
Yes, but that was in a controlled environment. Nintendo was able to control all that. They probably sat there and gave them demo versions of the actual games. They may have not even been the actual full game for all you know. And then Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red actually admitted to it. They sat there, isolated a demo part of the expansion that was like, oh, well, this is going to be where it's going to be super graphically demanding. You don't think it's possible that they can sit there, take a demo of a small portion of a game and polish that up to perfection to make it seem like it? You don't think companies have done that before?
So anyone claiming they're going into the Switch 2 blind is either a liar or an idiot.
You got no room to talk about anybody being an idiot, and you also really need to lay off the paint chimps already.
Because there's hundreds and hundreds upon hundreds of impressions.
Yes, of a controlled environment that you have no idea if it was the full game or if it was just a demo. At least CD Projekt Red was open and honest about it, but you need to remember this is the company who released Cyberpunk 2077 in the state it was in.
So yeah, when you say, oh my gosh, there's no Switch 2 reviews, it's like, because we don't really need them.
Of course we need them. We will always need them. And you do understand it wasn't like they got to play for hours and hours and hours, play a full game or something. They were literally limited on how much time they could play it. I forgot how much time, but it wasn't a large amount like you're thinking it is.
At least not day one, because these games aren't new.
You can keep laughing and saying all this nonsense that you want, but all ports are not created equal.
Now, there's a reason why certain games aren't launch games.
Okay, I'll bite. Please explain.
And it's because Nintendo didn't want the hardware out there to the press early.
Well, no shit. Can you at least give a reason why you think that they won't do it?
There's a reason why Donkey Kong just magically comes out a month after launch.
While it's not good to release all your games at once, you do need to spread them out throughout the year so it gives people time to play all the games. If you release them all at once, it's not like they're going to sell very well because everybody can't afford all the games all at once.
I guarantee you that they'll send pre-release copies of Donkey Kong out.
Hopefully they don't make the same mistake. We'll see how many pre-orders come in, and then if they get a shit ton of pre-orders, then I don't see them sending out the release codes.
I bet you they'll send press release copies of Metroid Prime 4.
I hope so, but it wouldn't surprise me if they don't.
The reason there was no need to send this hardware out early is because most of these games aren't new.
And not all ports are created equal. They didn't send out review units for this console because they didn't think they had to.
And they let you guys play them a month ago.
They let select few people play them a month ago for like literally only like 20 minutes at a time, if I remember correctly.
So all this stuff about, oh my gosh, we need to, you're not going to know, you're not going to have it informed.
Because you're not. Well, that's it for my reaction. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or not. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay vigilant.